What is up, Ravens flock? Another live episode tonight. I'm saying another. We had some technical difficulties on Tuesday night, and so we appreciate you bearing with us. Actually, I'm not going to take the blame for this.
Yeah, that wasn't on us. That was
wasn't
on YouTube.
us. It was on YouTube. So YouTube, make up for lost time.
Get it together.
Get it together.
What's going on here?
But we're really excited to be with you guys tonight and talk about the Baltimore Ravens offseason as it continues to march forward. So we got a lot of important things on the docket. We're going to talk about our wide receivers tonight. We're going to talk about the Steelers running back. We're going to talk about Wink Martindale's comments on sacks, all the above. But I did mention that we got some big news tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I shout out on Twitter for you guys that follow us on Twitter. I'm sure you saw that. If you didn't, follow us on Twitter. But we have a new contributor to the show, Daniel Kunimoto. You guys might have seen him before. Mm-hmm. Daniel, show the people what they want, man. All right. What's
going on, guys?
Daniel, welcome to the show, man.
Man, thank you so much. No, I'm really excited to be here and support you guys in any way. I've seen you guys kind of grow through time, and it's really exciting to kind of pitch into the show. And I've won actually at one point that I wanted to share with all the fans.
Yeah,
which is as long as you win like weekly competitions, week after week, you get a spot on the show.
That's right.
Amazing?
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Look, somebody's already calling you Daniel the Legend. Dude, you're already a legend on the show.
Wow. It's amazing.
That's awesome. Make sure you guys give a huge shout out to Daniel. Of course, what he's going to be doing is helping us out, settle debates, right, Glenn? I mean, he's going to be the swing vote here. We're going to start calling him the Windy City. I mean,
yeah, that's right. And now remember, I remember Daniel did say that I'm the more down to earth. So I'm happy to have him on my side because I need help reeling you in sometimes, Jimbo.
That's fine. That's fine. Look, that's fine. Just remember who got the Browns take right day one.
That's right.
I'm still leaning on that one because I don't have too many other right takes right now. But certainly make sure you guys give Daniel a shout out. He's going to be doing a lot of our behind the scenes stuff, putting up the comments, banners, all the above, working graphics and things like that. And of course he'll be on the show to settle debates and give his take and things like that. So we're really excited to have Daniel Kunimoto, Daniel the Legend, DK, whatever nickname you want to give him, on the show with us. Thanks, man. We appreciate all of it. We're excited.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited as well. So I'm going to step in the background and support you guys that way.
Awesome. Nice. Sounds good. Glenn, as always,
yes,
we start with some news as far as the NFL goes.
Yes.
I just want to throw this one at you, and I want to get your face reaction more than anything. Tim Tebow is a Jacksonville Jaguar officially.
That's right.
How you feeling about that?
I'm not mad at it. I know I'm probably in the minority when it comes to this. But I remember Tim Tebow's career at Florida and the type of guy, the leader, the type of teammate he was. Look at you eating on the show.
Sorry.
What is this?
Sorry.
What is this lunch? That's why you're kicking it to me because you had a mouthful of ice cream.
Look, I put in 10 miles today running and 5 on the bike. This is my reward.
What do you think? You're better than me?
No, this is my reward ice cream, baby.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, to me, I remember, it's funny. I saw a video of, it was like, one of those memes out there, and it was Tim Trevor Lawrence trying to like lead the hype huddle, and then it cuts in a scene where Tim Tebow just breaks into the huddle and has so much energy, he's so fired up. I mean, the thing that why I'm okay with it is because, I still think that he's going to be in fantastic shape. We know that he knows the system day one, even though It's been a while and since he's played it. As the quarterback, that's kind of unique in most systems where you have to know what everyone's doing. It's not like you just have to know your position, or you have to know what everyone's doing on the field. So I think it's reasonable to think that he has a good understanding of what the position is going to ask him to do. And I think that if you're a new coach, especially a new coach coming from college to the pros, the big thing when you're taking over an organization like the Jags, they've just been losers they've just been bad for so long. You have to change the culture. You have to be able to instill your culture. And I think that Tim Tebow is the guy he's bringing in to help do that, to help bring that culture to the Jaguars. And so while I get that it's unorthodox, it's odd, Tim Tebow is different. You know, he's just a different kind of an athlete. I think he's very versatile in his athleticism, and really, you know, I think he's a better fit as a tight end than he was as a quarterback. You know, I judge him by his throwing.
Yeah.
I mean,
so, Glenn, I'm going to tear your take apart here.
All right, here we go.
And I'm going to use some of the things that you said before that I've actually learned from you.
Oh, no. I hate when people use my words against me.
Now, one of the things that you've talked about is that leaders have to be good first. Like, nobody's following a bum into battle, right?
That's true.
Now, let me ask you another question. You tell me one outside linebacker or edge defender that's going to let Tim Tebow block. You think Matt Judon is nervous about Tim Tebow?
I think he better be.
Oh, you're outside your mind for that one.
Hold on. I've seen Tim Tebow pulling trucks. Okay.
Right. But this is what I want to say. Robert Mathis said this on the Pat McAfee show. He's talking about Tim Tebow. He said, I understand how he looks. But when you put the pads on, they hit back. Weights don't hit back.
This isn't a guy who is not familiar with contact. This guy would run through people consistently. He's 6'3", 245. So
you're right. But he's never lived and eaten in the trenches.
But
not as a ball carrier. Only as a quarterback. Only as a quarterback.
But he was a primary ball carrier. Who gets hit more than a ball carrier?
And he's going to be 34 years old. Look, if Tim Tebow were 22, shoot, I think he would be an incredible prospect at tight end.
Yeah.
But I just don't see it, man. I think that it is a business transaction. I think they sell that sucker out. Think about it. He's from Duval County. He's Jacksonville's pride and joy, right?
Yeah.
Like he is their savior, right?
He's just there to sell tickets.
Oh, absolutely. Because look, nobody, as soon as he starts struggling in camp. Yeah. So this is the thing. He's either got to be an incredible blocker, right? An incredible blocker, or he's got to be an incredible route runner. Mm-hmm. Because how else does he make the team? Tight ends are incredible blockers or incredible route runners.
He's good at both. I don't
think he's going to be good at either.
This guy was a goal line monster his entire career so I don't worry about the contact issue. This guy looks for contact, would take on contact with linebackers. It's not like he was only going after secondary. No, he was going after linebackers and initiating that contact and going through them. I'm not concerned at all about the contact portion. I'm concerned about whether he's a route runner because he's never tried at that. It's not like something he's been developing. It's not something you can just pick up and become a good route runner overnight. But as far as the contact, that doesn't worry me in the slightest. Now, I'll give you credit in the sense that he's got a target on his back. So every team, when they see him lined up, they're going to give him a little extra juice. And I understand that. And hopefully Tim understands that for his sake, because there's no doubt that when they see him, they're going to give him a little extra juice, just like Johnny Football got. When Johnny Football, when they sacked him, they didn't sack him like a normal quarterback. They tried to bury him and then ran their mouth and flashed the money sign in his face.
Because think about this. Who in practice is going to be the first one in a one-on-one type scenario? What defensive player is going to be the first one to have to admit that he got locked up by Tim Tebow? None of them want that on their resume for sure. They still see him as a quarterback.
But he'll win over his teammates. I'm not worried about his teammates.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying.
Team player, he'll be the first one in, last one to leave.
But when you're a guy that's trying to make that roster and you got to eat, not Tim, but like a defensive player.
Yeah, you're going to give it all you got against him.
Timmy might not be ready for all. That's all I'm saying. I think it's a business transaction. And I think that years ago, I think this guy would have been a great prospect. I think it's just, we're talking about 12 years ago when he was 22 years old. 12 years ago.
It's crazy. It's outside the box and it's a little wild, but I think he's more so broad. I don't think they're going to bring him in and ask him to be their number one tight end. I think if he even makes the team, he's he's a second or third tight end. And he's like that H-back type, because he's a guy that you can put in if you could put him in as your goal line guy, as a fullback, as a running back. You could put him in there in short yardage situations. It's not like he's not familiar with.
All right, this is what I want to know. DK, we're gonna use your resources here. If you can tell us, because I agree with you, Glenn, what's the size comparison between a guy like Ben Mason and Tim Tebow?
Oh, he's undersized he's 6'3", 245, Tim Tebow. So he's undersized as a tight end. There's no doubt.
No, I'm talking about, but like an H-back guy, like you're talking about, where Ben is more in that mold, right? I think that there's more similarities between Ben and what Tim does.
He's Derrick Henry's size, right? 6'3", 245, if I remember correctly. That's Derrick Henry's height and weight. So could you see Derrick Henry as a fullback? I think we could all see Derrick Henry as a fullback. He's just so darn good as a running back. Nobody would do it.
Yeah.
But we could see him being physically. By the way, did you see the video of Derrick Henry squatting recently? Repping all the 45s? Not some of them, Jimbo. He had all the 45s.
I think he was at like 675
and repping it
or something like that.
Not like going for one, repping it quickly.
Right.
So, but anyway, back to Timmy. I mean, look, I know it's unorthodox, and look, I'm biased because when I watched him at college, I mean, he was an inspiration. There's a couple college guys I've watched that I just was wowed by. And while I wasn't wowed by his arm, I was, man, remember at press conference when he came out and said, you're not going to see a better leader. You're not going to see a better, more prepared team. And they went undefeated after that. I mean, the guy is just, he's just, a unique type of personality. So I get that he's no lock to make the roster. He's matter of fact, I think he's got an uphill climb to do so.
Yeah.
But, if you want to change a culture, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked to see him make the team as like the third tight end and H-back.
It's going to be interesting for sure. There you go. So yeah, they are similar in size.
Yeah.
Certainly. So yeah, I see him more in that role, right? I could see him as a goal line guy, but not a true end of the line tight end. Like,
No.
I don't think he's got, somebody said Derrick Henry doesn't run a 5-second 40, which is certainly true as well.
Yes.
But I don't see Tim like, if a safety or even a linebacker sees Tim Tebow and they're in a one-on-one scenario, I don't think he's worried about him beating him over the top. You know what I mean?
But I mean, man, he's still a heck of an athlite. I mean,
no, you're right.
He's got to play professionally in two sports.
Right. This is the last thing I'll say, though. The comparison I don't like. It's funny because I hate BYU and I don't like Taysom Hill. I like Taysom Hill way more than Zach Wilson. Not like as players, but not as prospects. Like Zach's going to be a better quarterback in the NFL. I readily understand that. I'm not that like salty about BYU, but Taysom Hill runs a 4.4 and is an absolute monster, right? Like, I don't think Tebow, what he's missing to me is the speed, right? Like, he's never had it. So anyway, I don't like that comparison either. I don't think it's a good comparison because I don't think he has the speed to get that, the stuff that Taysom does done.
I can't believe Taysom ran a 4.4.
Dude, he's in
DK, can you confirm this claim that Jimbo has of a 4.4? I mean, maybe, but I'd be surprised. I guess I shouldn't be because he does play a lot of positions, but he just doesn't look like a 4.4 guy when I watch him move. But I guess that would say more to his athleticism if it proves to be correct.
Right. So we have a couple other things to talk about as far as like NFL news, but I kind of want to get right into Ravens stuff.
You want to? Well, let's do a little bit of the Najee Harris stuff because we were talking about him recently. You have your doubts on whether he's going to be very successful. I think I'm a little higher on him, being successful because he was such a monster in college. I mean, he was so versatile. He was a great receiver as well as a running back. But he had a quote today or recently, I don't know if it was today, but basically saying that he's going to be more than just a running back in Pittsburgh. He said that he expects to play, quote, everywhere in the offense and that he'll spend some time line up as wide receiver. And that doesn't shock me because he looks, very similar skill set to a Le'Veon Bell. I mean, and Le'Veon Bell, all Ravens fans knows they've been around long enough. That guy was devastating in the slot as a receiver out of the backfield. I mean, the patience he showed in the hole and letting the blockers, develop in front of him before bursting through and making guys miss. And I would not be shocked one bit to see him make immediate impact, despite the fact, and I think that's the only thing that could hold him back is going to be that offensive line, because I still don't know how they're going to piece this group together when there's not a lot of guys out there that are left and they didn't make a ton of swings at it in the draft. I know they got the guy we liked out of Illinois, Kendrick Green, I think was his name, was a guy I was high on and I actually projected to come to the Ravens at one point. But outside of that, I don't know who's going to play tackle for him. I just don't. I don't know. But as far as Najee, there is no doubt in my mind that he's got the talent to become a 1,500-yard type guy, whether that be through a combination of through the air and on the ground. So what is your take on Najee? Am I too high on him? And am I getting a little crazy here, Jimbo?
No, I don't think you are. But really, I think it comes down to that line that's in front of him, right? Like, and you mentioned that, but if you pair those memories of Le'Veon Bell with the memories of that imposing offensive line that the Steelers had at that time, I mean, their rise and Le'Veon's rise were synonymous, right? Like they were one and the same. And I certainly think it's something that needs to be addressed. But I get nervous when I start hearing this because that means they're going to get him the ball more than just as a running back as many times as possible. And he's just going to be a playmaker. That's a problem. Put him out in the open field. He can make guys miss. He can run through guys. Mm-hmm. So I want him to get the ball as little as possible. Right. Yeah. So the more he gets the ball for us, I think the worse it is. So, I'm concerned. I'm not excited to hear this. And so, it makes me a little nervous, to hear this from Najee, but I'm not surprised, right? Like, wow.
This is what happens when you wolf down ice cream during the show. I mean, my goodness, it couldn't have waited.
It's all gone.
It couldn't have gone in the freezer.
It's all gone already. 3 bites. That's all it took.
That tiny little baby container. That's what I would give my son. Can you get a large next time, Jimbo? I mean,
I don't need all that.
What is it? Bikini season? You got to keep your figure.
That's right.
I mean, my goodness. My goodness. Anyway, all right, let's move on.
Licks, but yes, let's keep going.
Let's move on from the Steelers because we're not here to talk about the nasty Pittsburgh Steelers just got a bad taste in my mouth even saying it. So let's get on to the Ravens. So,
all right.
First thing I want to talk about is the number changes. I mean, I know it's not a big deal to most. My son has a Hollywood jersey. And so, the
not
fact
liking the number change too much right now.
I'm actually on the fence because I'm wondering, as a fan of Hollywood, and obviously my son is as well. He likes him because he's smaller. Yeah, that's one big thing. Excuse me, my goodness, and here I go.
Yeah, with the coffee, bro. What's up?
It's the coffee. But Hollywood going from 15 to 5, to me, I'm unsure of, like, is it cool that we have one of the original 15s, and same with like Patrick Queen, who's changing his number also. Is it kind of is it automatically an instant throwback? I mean, even though we're not going very far back, or does it bother you? So I'm interested also to see, those of you who bought those jerseys, are you upset that there's going to be a number change, or do you think it's kind of cool that you have the original, you have the OG, and that you're not worried that he's changing?
That's a great point. I think that's an optimistic way to look at it, because I know a lot of people are upset about the idea that these guys are changing numbers. But look, just it's like Jordan in the 45, right?
Yeah.
It's just a temporary thing. You got a jersey and so it becomes an instant classic.
That's right.
Right. So that's the way I would look at it.
It's going to be hard to find 15s in 8 years. It's going to be hard. It's going to be impossible.
Right. Absolutely. And hopefully, I mean, I think that the chances of Camden fitting in that jersey in 8 years is even more, unlikely. But certainly it's going to be difficult. I agree with you 100%. But what about the idea of people saying that he's disrespecting Joe Flacco? That's the one thing that I'm like, bah. Look, I have been a Joe Flacco apologist. And one of the things I want to say that I thought the disrespect of Joe today in the media on ESPN when they were talking about the quarterback competition in Philly, how Jalen Hurts said, "I'm not above any competition." I think it's his job. But as well as I know, and you've said this a lot before, Joe looks like God cut a quarterback out of stone, right? Yep. And put him on the field. And in practice, he does that.
He looks fantastic.
So, right. Yeah. So I don't, and they have a new coach there. So I could easily see that coach being like, I'm going to give this old dog a spin, give him a spin at it. So, because the way he whips that ball is going to look better than Jalen Hurts, going to look better than 99% of people on the planet. Right. Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I think that the disrespect to Joe Flacco, like guys were laughing at him as a football player. He's a Super Bowl MVP. Like it's not fair that he's disrespected that way. But I don't think Hollywood's being disrespectful. The jersey's not retired. I don't see any issue with it. He wore it in college. So what? And I tell you what, Joe Flacco doesn't give a crap.
No.
He doesn't care. If you should ask anyone, it should be Joe. Yeah.
Oh, Joe couldn't care less.
Yeah.
he don't care if it says Flacco on the guy's back. He's like, well, whatever.
Right.
He don't care. But yeah, I mean, and that kind of leads to another point that I kind of wanted to ask, but so the number changes before I just want to wrap this up. Number changes don't bother you, doesn't,
Nah.
Yeah, I'm fine with it as well.
I think that the linebackers, the single numbers look ugly. Like, I don't like it, but you can do whatever you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't really bother me. Now, here's what I don't want to see. I don't want to see jersey changes every other year from guys. So as long as they pick this, and now that it's allowed, that they're fine with it, then that's fine, because I don't want to see this becoming a constant theme where guys are consistently changing their numbers.
And I think that there are stipulations, though, right? Don't you have to buy out the rest of the inventory and stuff like that? Yeah. So I don't think it'll happen too much, unless guys are willing to shell out some bread every single time.
Numbers are important to some people. There's no doubt about it.
Lamar
but that
wasn't giving up number 8.
No. That leads to my next question, though. The Ravens have never officially retired a jersey number, right? But there's some unofficial retired jerseys out there, I think, that we can all agree on. So I wanted to come up with a list on what are the jersey numbers no one should be wearing in Baltimore. What
20, 52.
Okay, so that's a good start. 20 and 52. I don't think we'll ever have an argument or a dispute there. No one's wearing Ray Lewis. Patrick Queen could have gone to the coach and said, "Look, I want to change to 52." What do you think John would have said to him?
No.
Hell no, right? Absolutely not. So
yeah, and I even think, what do you I even think 75, because it's probably going to be an O lineman that wears it, and he's going to know who J.O. is.
Yeah,
I'm not touching that number.
Yeah, no 75. That's not happening. Can't do it. Okay, now I see 73 on there. What are your thoughts on 73? Does this, is Yonda? Does he have that kind of clout? I mean, to me, that was my father's favorite player. His dog's name is Marshall. So I know I'm a little impartial here, and I love me some Marshall Yonda. Because I think he's an eventual Hall of Famer, right?
Yeah.
Eventual. I mean, I don't know how long it'll take, but I think he's an eventual guy, right? And then Colin Henderson, he puts in there, 55's got to be retired, right? T-Sizz?
Yeah, you're right. That's another one. Double nickel. I mean, you can't touch 55 either. That's a good point.
Can't touch 55. Now, I've heard some people say that 19 should still be.
I was about to bring that one up as well. I think so.
You want to, but he's never been a Raven, but he was a Baltimore leg. Of course, we're talking about Johnny U.
He's a statue out front at the end of the day.
He's got a statue.
He's
I
a
agree.
freaking stat. You know what I mean? Come on. He's a friggin' statue, bro. Literally and figuratively. I mean, he was a statue in the pocket.
That's right. Okay, so 19 off the board because of the statue. Even though, he's a legend. He was the greatest to do it when he retired. He had every meaningful record, invented the 2-minute drill.
Now, what do you think about 31? Big Cuz is bringing up 31, and obviously that's Jay Lewis, Jamal Lewis, but
does it bother you that he spent a few years elsewhere and had success?
Because you got to get paid. You ain't getting paid by the Ravens when you're that old, and you got to get paid. I get it. I'm not even mad at Ed or Terrell Suggs, because you got to get paid, man. You got to rob. You got to rob somebody. Not that you're robbing them, but you know what I'm saying.
I don't mind. I mean, look, was I a little bit bummed out that Ed Reed didn't play every single snap as a Raven? Yeah, I was a little bummed out. I mean, my nephew's named after Ed Reed, so Ed Reed's big in our house, and I think it's really cool that Ray Lewis took every single snap.
Glenn, we got to stop the show. You see that last comment from Josh Moyer? Josh, don't do this to me, Josh.
He's probably you mean Jason? Look, you just got his name wrong.
Oh, geez.
So look, right
back
at you.
This is how perplexed I am. right now.
Well, number 19 is Johnny Unitas. He's probably a young man. If I encourage you, look up what Johnny U did. I mean, obviously he has a statue out front of the stadium, so you should be a little familiar with him. But he's pretty legendary here in Baltimore, and really across the record books.
Yeah, sorry for cutting you off there, but I saw it. I almost fell out of my chair.
Yeah, no,
if it wasn't for the sugar rush of this ice cream, I would have passed out.
Right. I would have passed out. Yeah, but no, I tend to agree with, I think we might have to limit it to Hall of Famers, which is why I'm not so sure you can put Jamal on the list, as good as he was. I mean, that season he had over 2000 was magical. So I think you have to limit it to Hall of Famers, which is why I don't think Jamal or Joe Flacco should all be offended. I mean, he's a legend. He's a Ring of Honor member, possibly. Actually, I would say definitely.
For sure.
Definitely. So, but I don't think you retire his jersey unless he's a Hall of Famer because, you would run out of numbers. I mean, if you just do it for all the guys we really, really like. So only Hall of Famers. So right now, the list is 20, 52, 75, 73, 55, and 19. Is that it?
Yeah. So, but this is my only, since we're the governing body for the Ravens and retired numbers, this is the last.
Call us.
That's right. This is the last clarification that I need. Do you have to be in the hall? Like, can guys wear 73, 55 until those guys are in the hall? And then, but since we already know, it's our, preemptively, it's said, like it's not spoken, it's implied. You don't touch those numbers. That's what you're saying?
No, yeah, you don't touch those numbers. You
right.
can't do it. I don't think so. Now, here's the other one. If Justin Tucker continues at this pace, is he working his way towards? Okay, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I think
any other kicker would be stupid to wear that number because that's how much pressure you put on your back when you trot out there and you're looking like, people are like, oh shoot, it's Justin Tucker. Wait, no. Not, what I mean? You go out there and you miss it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, so I think he's on pace, but not there yet. Mm-hmm. But obviously he still has the number, so no one's taking it from him anyway. And look, I like Heap too, but I don't think Heap deserves retirement. I mean, I can't do it, but yeah. So all right, that's the list. I like it. I'm not
I like that too.
It.
Now, I want to get to this, though, Glenn. I think this might be the meat of the show. We're going to talk about the wide receivers. We're going to talk about two things. But I want to start with talking about numbers. Number 11 down in hot Atlanta, Julio Jones. The rumors have resurfaced, Glenn. Resurfaced.
Yeah.
I mean, it's coming back. And I was about to make a really funny joke, but I've decided not to.
Okay.
It's coming back, and I want to know your thoughts. I mean, we obviously drafted 2 wide receivers.
Yep. Brought in one from free agency.
Yeah, right. So, and it sounds like they are wanting a first rounder.
Yes.
So, and you said it before. As of right now, the top destination that makes the most sense, according to pundits, is the Baltimore Ravens. Where are you at right now when it comes to the Julio Jones saga? Okay,
so realistically, it's possible because it looks like the Ravens have around $10 million in space. It's expected that the Falcons are going to, eat some of the contract as part of the deal. So I think it's possible from a cap standpoint. Although if you just look at the numbers, you'd say, well, it's not going to happen. But like I said, they're expected to eat some of the deal, which would make it financially possible. Now, the other question is, does it all worry you that bringing in a guy with that kind of clout, that kind of resume, that kind of skill set still, does it worry you that it would, push down the development of some of these young guys? It would lessen some targets, lessen some opportunities, lessen some first team snaps in practice. That's another question. Do you think that kind of slows the development of the younger guys?
Let me ask you that real quick. Let me answer that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not worried about it, and I don't care. If Julio Jones is going to be a Raven, everybody better step aside. It's Julio Jones, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, is he in your mind? Is there any way he's not in the Hall after 5 years?
Oh, he's definitely in the Hall.
Right. And
the other receivers look at him. All the greats around the league look at him and go, yeah, that guy's better. Like that guy, he's that good. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's the concern is that he would, and then obviously the injuries lately. He's had a lot of injuries that have kept him out of a lot of big games for Atlanta. But on the flip side, I mean, man, you talk about a bona fide number one, a guy that, can do everything. I mean, this guy, he can make every catch. He can run every route. He can block. He can be asked to do anything on the field. And as far as the injury concerns, I think the chances of him being injured are lessened by a good amount coming to Baltimore. I mean, it can't be easy playing on that field in Atlanta. Coming here, you're going to play on an all grass field in practice and in the games. We're gonna I'm sure do whatever they can to keep Julio on the field. So I think that the injury concerns, while still there, I think are lessened if he came to Baltimore. So the biggest question to me is, Jimbo, really the only question to me is, would you be willing to part with a first-round pick for a guy at his age with his injury history? So, Jimbo, let me know. Would you be willing to give up a 1 for Julio?
Done. I ain't thinking about it twice. I'm not, because like if we get 2.5 to 3, based on where we're at as a team, where we are knocking on the door, right? To me, you give Lamar Jackson an improved offensive line, the running back stable that he has, and then the wide receivers that we have. Even if if you add Julio Jones to that, a guy where Lamar's in trouble and he can just literally throw it in his vicinity. The dude's going to catch it. Like, every quarterback dreams for a guy like that to get them out of trouble. And I think with Lamar being young, still developing as a player, that would do nothing but help him. And I think where we are as a team, it's time to go after it, man. Like, it's funny because I think the Ravens and the Rams are exact opposite in model. And the Rams have been successful in their model. I mean, it's hard to say they haven't been since McVay. They haven't been a successful team. While I don't agree with, you're talking about your son. Think about 8 years from now, Camden's going to be driving, right? No, almost driving. I mean, he's going to be.
Yeah, he'll be 8 soon. Yeah, so he'll be driving. Yeah.
So if you think about that, that's the next time the Rams have a first-round pick.
That's insane.
I mean. So what I'm trying to say, though, is that I think the Ravens need to dip their toe into that a little bit. I'm not asking them to change who they are, but go after it, man. Go after it. We're right on the doorstep. Getting a guy like Julio would be ridiculous. Just my thoughts. I give up a 1 because we're already one of the best drafting teams in the league. So trust your ability. Give up a 1 for proven commodity and do better late in the draft.
The only
this
part
is why
that
James ain't a GM.
That's
James
right.
isn't a GM because I don't have the connections in the first place.
Yeah, that's the only reason, I'm sure.
In the very first place. I mean, come on. Like,
you do tend to have to know someone. There's no doubt. But here's the other thing. Even if he comes here and this year they eat some of the salary, next year they're not eating the salary. The year after that, they're not taking on any of the salary. So bringing him in could very well mean that Hollywood, Andrew, one of those guys, a combination of a couple young guys, might not be able to get the deal they're hoping for. Maybe they could franchise him to put the deal off, and eventually Julio would retire before need be. But I just worry that taking up that much cap space for that guy, is that really worth it in an offense that doesn't feature receivers like that?
Let me ask you this. If we win it,
if you win it, it's always makes sense.
Right. So, like, I think it's a calculated risk at that point, right? Because if you win it,
even if you don't, then even if you get close,
right, you got to win it. You got to win it, right?
You got to win it. I mean, it's the same with every really big trade is if you win it, if it leads to winning, it makes sense. But if not, and I know that some people, I think I saw somebody mention that they're not thinking that they'll get a 1 for him. So even still, a 2, a 2 and a 3, a 2 and a 4. Now then you're talking a little bit, but to me, the biggest worry to me is the cap space that he's going to be eating up. Maybe not this year, but next year and the year after that. And even if they do restructure, eventually you got to pay the guy.
What do we know about his contract? I don't think it's terrible. Isn't it in like the $15 million for year 2 and 3, around that range? I don't think it's miserable. Especially think about it. Next year, would you rather pay Julio Jones 15 or Kenny Golladay 18?
Oh, 18. I know. That still is insane to me. But no, it looks like he has a $15.3 million salary for 21 and then 11.5 for 22 and 23 seasons. So
11.5 for Julio?
That's not that bad. That's not that bad.
I'm just saying, I'm not a GM, but those numbers sound good to me.
But they sound good now. But when he's on the shelf and he misses the final 10 games, he's got the
hamstring and all those things.
Then all of a sudden, it doesn't look so good. So I just don't know. I think there's a lot that goes into it. I don't think it's an easy decision as if it would be, because you just look at the talent. It's like, it's a no-brainer.
Right.
You're talking about one of the very best receivers in the league and a team that needs a true number 1. And I think some people are high on Bateman and think that he might develop into that, but there's no guarantee, just like any draft pick. This guy, if he's healthy, there's no doubt in anyone's mind, I don't care who you ask, that he is a true number 1 and an instant red zone threat, which is funny because the guy has struggled to score touchdowns for one reason or another. If anyone's had him in their fantasy team, you'll know while he still gets his yards, gets his targets, gets his catches, he has struggled to find the end zone, which makes absolutely no sense. So yeah, I don't know.
It's definitely going to be interesting for sure. I guess it sounds like I'm probably more towards taking the deal than
Now it looks
or at
like
least I'm
those numbers I gave you may have just been his base salary, and they weren't including signing bonus money.
Gotcha.
So that's just what I'm reading on the CBS report that had, the Ravens listed as the number one team. They had that little blurb of his salary. So it might be his cap hit might be far north of that.
Gotcha. So, but I want to get to another subject now. Julio's not on the team. We're gonna disregard that for a second. I want to get this thought came into my mind the other night. Candidly, I was walking my dog, hoping he would take a crap so I could go back in the house, and I was thinking about our wide receiver core, and I started listing off the names, and I'm like, okay, Rashad Bateman, Tylan Wallace, Sammy Watkins, Marquise Brown. Who am I missing here? Oh, Devin Duvernay, right? And then James Prochet and Miles Boykin. They're like second.
Poor Miles.
I know. I'm sorry, but I started thinking about the other rooms, the wide receiver rooms in the division. I don't know if we're the worst wide receiver group in the division anymore.
What?
I don't know. So I want to start here, Glenn.
Don't get crazy.
That's fine. But okay. I want to start here. Do you have a clear consensus as to who the best wide receiver core, in your opinion, is in the division? Before we argue over whether or not we're the worst.
I think here's the thing. The North is full of good receivers. I mean, it just is. I think that, it's tough to pick just one guy or one team because they're all so good. I mean, just from a skill set standpoint, you talk about the Browns with Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry, and then the young guy out of Michigan last year. I'm blanking on his name.
Peoples-Jones?
Yeah, Peoples-Jones. That's a pretty darn good angle. I mean, I'm sorry, with the Steelers with Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool and James Washington. Not bad. Even Ray McLeod's a solid player. Not bad. And then the Bengals, I mean, they just added Jamar Chase to a group with
T. Higgins,
Tyler Boyd. Auden Tate. Right? So I still think the Ravens, no matter how you sort those, to me, still fourth, Jimbo. Still fourth.
Wow.
I mean, who would you put them over, above them? Tanja Bowman, he's getting – you know what's funny? We have a note. That's where we're going, Tanja. We're going there very, very soon. Should we go there right now?
Sure. It'll give me some time to table my argument.
Because you're going to need to come up with something good to tell me we don't have the worst receiving core in the division. So let's go to Tanja's point. And he says, Wink stated sacks don't mean anything, and he'll continue to blitz. Why can't corners play their position, get a pass rusher? Well, I think that somebody had more of his quote in here. He said sacks are one of the most superficial stats. Mm-hmm. He said that he'd rather have as many cover corners as possible because this is now a passing league. Well, I think that's really always been the case. You want as many many cornerbacks as you can because we've seen it plenty of times where we thought that was an area of strength. We have Tavon go down. We have Jimmy Smith go down, and all of a sudden you're scrambling around the league and looking out for practice squads. So I think that any good corner is good to have. But I'm not so sure that sacks don't mean anything, right? I mean, how can we say they don't mean anything? Why does Aaron Donald get consistently voted as the best player and the most dominant defensive lineman? And that's because he brings something unique to that position. He brings interior pass rush that gets home. He doesn't just disrupt. This guy gets home from the interior. Right. So while I understand his point that pressures and hurries can be more valuable because you can pressure a guy into throwing an errant pass that gets intercepted. So that's more valuable than if you would have said. But to say sacks don't mean anything, I'm not sure if he's not being a little hyperbolic there. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, let's see. Let me take a look at this quote here. Do you have it up in front of you again?
Yeah, it just says sacks are one of the most superficial stats is all I have.
Okay, so I think there's a difference there, Glenn, between not meaning anything and being superficial. In that, I'm going to draw a comparison that I had in my life. When I played lacrosse, I played midfield, and I hated lazy attackmen because they would stand around the goal. I would do all the work because I was on defense, run the fast break, and literally dish them the ball, and they put the goal in. And And then, after the game, they're pumped up and everything else. But it's superficial, right? Like how much work how much value did they actually provide?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's kind of where Wink is going. And the other thing too, is I think that he was it was interesting to me, his answer, because it was about preference. I don't think he really said that these don't matter, but he was like, nah, give me the cover corner guys, because I know where the NFL is going. And I think more has to do, because obviously you got to get home. You got to create pressure. But Eric, brought up the fact that last year was the fastest that quarterbacks had ever gotten the ball out of their hands in NFL history. And I don't think that trend is going to continue that way with the way that the game is going. So I think that's kind of Wink is feeding off of that. And but I'll also say, like, the game is the rules are set up to where cornerbacks are just fighting a losing battle. It's not like they can win like in the old day. You know what I mean? The way the rules are set up, they can't be overly physical. You're gonna lose. The rules are set up for you to lose. You know what I mean? It's just what it is. So while there's a lot of value in a cover corner and this, that, and the other, we see all these guys get beat. Jalen Ramsey, all of them. I mean, Jalen, Marlon.
When Jalen gets beat, he turns around and looks who to blame.
And he stomps his feet like a 5-year-old that lost his toy. Like, geez, a whiz. But anyway, that's another story for another day. But certainly, so I also see that point. It's like, well, why not go get the best pass rushers? Because we know that whether we got a top end corner or low end corner, it's only maybe a second and a half of difference that we have in true coverage because of the rules. You just can't.
Yeah.
You just
can't. And because these receivers are
so good.
Yeah, they're so good, so developed compared to what they used to be. They come in day one, they can contribute.
Yeah. So I understand what Wink is saying, and I'm okay with it, because at the same time, look, think about it this way. It's a business move, right? This is what his organization is doing, and he's leaning into it. Wink is a company man.
And he's also the guy who's drawing up he's the one who's sending all those pressures and leaving guys on an island.
Right.
But what that, and I agree that it would be awesome to see one day the Ravens get back to being able to get pressure with 4. We haven't seen that since really Terrell Suggs left. This guy is, we don't have a guy who can just go out and beat a top end tackle. We just don't. So I would love to see him get that. And maybe they do have that with Odafe Owe. Who knows? I mean, he could develop into that guy with his athleticism. But I think that's more of a wait and see. But so I think that he's just working with what he's got. And with what he's got, he needs to draw it up. He needs to sometimes send more than you're blocking with. And hopefully he can get there. But the good thing is they fully committed to that in how they're building their team, in the sense that they got guys on the back end that can stick with guys for longer than almost all the corners in the league, that are built to do nothing but play that man tight coverage and just say, yeah, I'm 1-on-1, beat us, and we'll disrupt the route. We'll make your quarterback hold it for just that 1 split second longer, because it just comes down to that a lot of times, that 1 split second. So I'm kind of on the fence here, because whenever we send 4 and drop into coverage, man, do they not have all the time in the world? Like, we have to blitz, or it always ends up poorly for us. So there's no choice but to blitz. Now,
and the concern is, of course, we saw last year's most frustrating thing ever. I think it was on your son's birthday, during his birthday party, watch the Chiefs game together. Was that last year?
I think it was last year. Mm-hmm. It was early, week 3, right?
Dude, I think that was the year before, man.
Was it?
Anyway, COVID was a whole blur for me. So it was either last year or the year before. But the point is the same, in that they had to blitz to create pressure against Mahomes. And Mahomes was torching the blitz. Yeah. Just identifying it and hitting his hot route. And so I agree with you. Like, while I'm saying I understand what Wink is saying, I think my real point here is that mentally he's trying to prepare himself to get the most out of what he's got, like you were saying. Right? Like, he's like, all right, this is what I got. So this is my mantra. This is what we're going with. I'm going to make sure the guys buy into this. I've got to buy into it first. You ever try and believe your own lie?
Oh, I think we always convince
ourselves. You know
what I
mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a little bit of that, to where he's really trying hard to lean into this. You know what I mean? Whether he believes it or not, he's trying to make himself pass a lie detector test.
Yeah, but who was it that, I think you pointed it out, that there was a receiver out there talking about the Ravens system and how Jarvis, yeah. And Jarvis wasn't saying that as if it made it easy, right? Like, he was saying that, they don't care what you're doing. They are going to line up man coverage. They're going to blitz you. and they're going to challenge you to beat them. And if you can't beat them, it's going to be a long afternoon. So I think that as long as you have the correct guys on the back end, you can do that, and it can be very effective. I mean, the bottom line is, when it comes to points, when it comes to yards, has there been a better defense over the last 3 years or 4 years under Wink? There hasn't. I mean, this guy's been right up there at the very top of defenses, and he's been doing it with a system where he leaves guys on islands because he's got the personnel to do so. If he didn't have it, I'm sure he would adapt and adjust his system to, the guys he does have. So I think that the biggest thing to me is that you got to have the flexibility when you're beat. When a team has your number, like when a team you can tell is picking you apart like the Chiefs did last year, you have to have something you can go to, a change up. You have to have that extra pitch like pitchers always have, that extra pitch that they, when a pitcher sees the lineup, they don't throw all their pitches the first time through the lineup, because the second time they want to have something new for them. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing, in football. You can't just, keep lining up and keep doing the same thing and let like the Chiefs did. I mean, they just killed us. So as long as you have that, that backup plan, that secondary, that pitch that you want to, hide out, I think, is fine, because I don't want to see a point where, just like when the Chiefs, man, they were killing us, man. Every time we blitzed, they just found the open guy and got it to him and then yak yards like crazy, because that's the risk. If you one missed tackle, when you play like that, one missed tackle can lead to a monster amount of yak, and usually first downs or touchdowns.
Fair enough. So I wanna go back to our previous comment, our previous
you got
topic.
Any ammunition? You got anything?
Not tons of statistical ammunition here. I'm going on projections, but one thing I want to mention, we appreciate your guys' support for the video that we put out by the running backs. Got a lot of play, and the PFF article where we felt like our running backs were supremely disrespected.
Yeah.
And I want to say this live. We reached out to the guy that wrote the article from PFF, and you know what, man? He didn't respond. I gave him a chance to come on the show to defend his take, and he said nothing. Crickets. So that's whack. But I wanted to let you guys know we tried to get him on the show.
Oh yeah, we were gonna take him to task.
Yeah, I mean,
over the blasphemy.
Oh my gosh, the way that I don't know how Gus doesn't make this list. It's insane to me.
I mean, I don't know how there was like 5 teams with 2 running backs on it before we got to see JK.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I know you guys, I'm sure most of you guys, if not all, have seen that video. And, so we're not going to belabor it too much, because if you want to, go check out the video we did on it. But the fact that you had 2 Jaguars on the list, you had 2 Cowboys on the list, you had 2 Broncos on the list, like
all before JK, right?
Like, what the hell? Tony Pollard before JK? Are you outside of your mind? Like, I would have loved to have him come on here. I don't know if he'd have lasted a whole show, because I was fired up. I mean, it's just nonsense, that list. I mean, the fact that he was at 26, it's so silly to me when he led the league in yards per carry. And everyone and their brother knows his carries are going to go up this year. I mean, everyone knows he's leading. He is going to be week 1, the number 1 lead back, and not that Gus is going to be, a distant second. He'll be right there as getting his carries, but
yeah, he'll get his 700 plus yards and 5 per.
And very little negative yardage, maybe 1 negative play all year, maybe.
Yeah, man. Like, Gus is what you see is what you get, and I love that. I think anything that you do in life that's great requires consistency, and Gus is the model of consistency. So in that consistency is greatness, in my opinion. Like, people want to, shun the things that he's done, but to be able to do that every single year, your first 3 years in the league, changing circumstances, and et cetera, right? Like, even with RG under center, he destroyed the Steelers. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously I'm a huge Gus guy, but I think that is not, it cannot be stated enough. The consistency is so hard in the NFL, where every year guys get better, they get faster, they get stronger, and Gus continues to do to produce. But I just want to mention here, all right, this is where I'm willing to go as far as the rankings in the AFC. I might take a step back, all right, initially, but this is where I'm at.
Backpedaling, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I'm not backpedaling. This is because you brought up a good point. At first, I was going to talk about the additions of our rookies. Mm-hmm. And in that calculation, so this is what I'll say. If you calculate our rookies, it's hard to say what they're going to be, right?
Mhm.
But if you calculate our rookies, you might think it's blasphemous, and that is fine. But I think that we have a chance to be a better wide receiver core than the Steelers. If you calculate our rookies, if you don't, I have a really hard, argument to make there. But I think so a few things though. I think the addition of Sammy Watkins, because everyone just assumes he's going to miss games, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. Sammy Watkins is an incredible football player when he's healthy. I think there's an opportunity. We said it before in the video with him. His only 1,000+ year, Greg Roman was his offensive coordinator. His best statistical year ever, Greg Roman. And it's not like this was when Tim Tebow was 22 and he's 34 now. Sammy Watkins only 27 years old, right? Yeah. Like this is the prime of his career. So I think Sammy has an opportunity to make a real jump. I think that he helps take pressure off of Marquise. And so the increased production of those two alone, I think is going to go a long way. Not calculating the rookies. I think Devin makes a big jump, Devin Duvernay. And so all I'm saying is we are not a clear fourth, in my opinion, anymore.
I think it's a little blurry.
And I think it's blurry, and I will go in on this, all right? By the end of the season, we will absolutely not be considered the worst wide receiver core in the AFC North. It will not happen.
Well, here's why you're wrong, Jimmy. It will happen. It will happen.
By counting numbers. Is that what you're saying? Of course.
There's no way they'll ever – outside of touchdowns.
Okay.
There's no way. I mean, maybe yards, they'll get close, but they'll be so far behind in targets and receptions because of the system that they'll never get the recognition. But I do agree in the sense, here's where I'll agree with you. I think if you took our core and put them on a pass-happy tein, their numbers would obviously increase. There's just no doubt about it. And they might get the type of respect that we see. Because look, Deontay Johnson, while I think he's talented, he's quick twitch, he's very quick in and out of his cuts, he's fast. The guy drops a ton of balls. I mean,
what's the saying, Glenn? How's it go? He's got phone book for hands, right?
Yeah, it's a mess. I mean, this guy can drop. I mean, the Steelers game that we played against him, he dropped like 3-4 balls, and they were big time plays that kept him out of the end zone. So I think that Deontay definitely gets so many more targets that he can make up for drops because he's always, he's going to get more targets. It's just going to come. So I understand like Deontay maybe isn't as good as the numbers make him look to be. But, I mean, Chase Claypool had a heck of a year, a guy that, they got him the ball in a bunch of different ways, and he really showed out. So I think we got to give Chase the respect he deserves after, I was a little unsure about him coming out. I wasn't necessarily sold on him coming out. I thought he might be the next Miles Boykin. I thought for a second, I did. But obviously he played well there and kind of proved me wrong. And then Juju, while I don't agree with the off the field stuff, and I don't think it's good for his team, I think on the field, he's a guy I would want on my team. I mean, the guy's tough. The guy, he makes those contested catches. He's a guy I would want. He's a battler. He's a fighter. And I would like to have him. And he's a young guy. I mean, remember, he was the youngest guy in the league when he came into the league. So I think that while we might have some guys that can compete on a talent level standpoint, I still think we're the clear-cut number 4 team. And I think even after the season, we're going to still be the clear-cut.
I'm going to go further than PFF and not blame the system for my lack of analysis. I'm not going to use that as a cop-out like PFF did when talking about JK and Gus and saying it's hard to separate Lamar and the system from their production. You know what? No. I'm going to say that by the end of the year, in fans' objective heart of hearts, they, regardless of system, they would do this with if anybody had the opportunity to take the Ravens core and swap it with the Steelers core.
Well, this, in my opinion, might change if Bateman.
I'm not talking about you, but I'm saying that there's a lot of people that just think this is the way it's going to be, and we can't develop wide receivers. There's no hope with these guys. The regime is new. I mean, brand new. This is the commitment we've made to wide receivers. I'm so excited about our passing game this year. I'm just saying, look out. I was thinking about it, and I got a really good feeling. Usually, I follow my gut, and that, wherever it takes me,
you don't have a gut, Jimbo. I got the gut between us. But let me ask you this: is there any discussion when it comes to Ravens versus Bengals in the receiver room and Ravens versus Browns?
Well, it's so hard because the Bengals are young wide receiver core. I mean, they got, a lot of people putting a lot of stock in Jamar Chase, just like everyone can say about Rashad Bateman. He hasn't stepped on the field yet.
Right. But
you know what I mean?
but Tyler
no,
Boyd has.
I don't. Yeah,
T.
no,
Higgins has.
I don't think you can.
Right. Okay.
I don't think you can.
Let's get Daniel in here because I need to know his take on here. DK, let us know. Is Jimmy crazy? Is he going on? Is he on to something here? Could the Ravens receivers supplant the Steelers and become not the worst in the division? Let's see what Daniel has to say.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey.
What's up?
I mean, it's hard to argue that the Ravens haven't improved, right? I mean, they're definitely on the upswing. Mm-hmm. They're getting better. But, I try to be as impartial as I can when in my own analysis when I'm taking a look at other teams as well. Mm-hmm. And, those other teams are also taking steps too. And I think the big thing is, I was taking a look at different lists on rankings on quarterbacks as well. So thinking about the passing game in totality, I think the other side of that question is how much of a step does Lamar Jackson take in his passing game that will kind of translate into the success of the wide receivers. I think that's also a really important point to discuss and point to kind of figure out, where Lamar Jackson is going, and then also to the trajectory of the other quarterbacks in the AFC North. So I think it's just going to be really interesting. I'm also like keeping an eye on Joe Burrow, in the AFC North, and also too, I can't help but think that Big Ben's going to take a step back. I mean, that's just me. Yeah. So that
you might as well rank the Cleveland Browns team wide receiver corner number 4 then, right?
Oh, because of Baker.
I mean,
you take Jimbo's stance on that. That's true.
That's right.
That's true.
But I agree with you on the Ben Roethlisberger
on the quarterbacks.
Thing too.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly because Ben, how much longer can they limp along with his limited physical ability, right?
Yeah. And then also, I mean, I think are 3 quarterbacks on their way up and 1 is on his way down. I mean, I know Jimmy might say that Baker's not.
2.
Yeah, maybe Baker's plateaued at this point. I think, but no, I think you're right though, Daniel. I think that's
Kirk
a really
Cousins
good point.
With an attitude, man.
I think that, and I think that the counting numbers that you always like to, reference, Jimmy, the Ravens could pass them if, like Daniel says, Ben falls off that cliff, whether it be from performance or injury. Then maybe we could get some counting numbers up. Maybe not volume, maybe still not volume, but look, I mean, right. Dwayne Haskins. I know they're trying to bring him out of. This guy, wow,
what a fall. They're still trying to get him out of the strip club, man.
Yeah, he's in there making it rain. But I don't think Mason Rudolph is going to be in there making anybody scared or making any of his.
He still can't count to 10 yet.
This guy's still shaking off the cobwebs.
Yeah, he's still in protocol.
But so I could see from a statistical standpoint, maybe some Ravens players getting past them in yardage and touchdown. I think it's definitely possible. A lot of it, like you mentioned, is up to the development of Lamar Jackson and how much what kind of step he takes in this offseason. I think that's kind of the big question everyone's wondering.
All right, Glenn.
What's up?
This is what I will definitively say. You brought up a good point. Our leading receiver, I'm going to go nuts here.
Oh, my goodness.
Our leading receiver, I believe it will be Marquise Brown, and I believe he will have more better counting numbers in yards and touchdowns, not receptions, yards and touchdowns, than the number 1 receiver of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Who would you say is their number 1, Juju, or is it Claypool?
Well, Juju said he's going to be on the outside a lot more this year.
Okay.
But if I'm talking about putting up big numbers based on Claypool's downfield ability,
touchdown machine.
Right. Yeah, and the yardage based on the chunk plays.
Yeah.
I guess I got to go with Claypool, but I'm going to be right on this one. Book it. DK, book it, baby.
Claypool is a hidden weapon. I mean, I don't know why they didn't use him so much this past year. But a lot of people have the upside on Claypool, and they're expecting him to put up big numbers. And so again, it comes back down to Ben. What is he able to do? Does he get hurt? Because they don't have. You're right. They don't have much behind Ben, at least in my estimation. So we'll have to see. But Claypool he's a specimen, man. He's something to watch out for. So we'll see.
Yeah, that daggone Claypool, man.
Spoken like a true politician. He comes in, he rides that fence, man. I tell you what.
It's his first show. He don't want to go
That's right.
crazy,
No,
you know?
yeah, you can't
I don't
shake
want to
feathers.
upset anyone, you know?
That's right. Remember when Dwight Schrute talked about sit on a pole? I can sleep on a pole or on a fence.
Right.
On a fence. My bad. But yeah,
I'm not so sure who our number one's going to be by year end. I mean, I think if Sammy's healthy, I think there's an argument made he could be the number one. I think Hollywood, who Nana Rave is still not sold on whatsoever, I think could obviously his reconnection with Lamar makes him an obvious choice for some big targets. Obviously the trust factor is there. But then Bateman, I mean, there's no doubt that he's going to be in there challenging both of those guys for big time stats or snaps, and then of course getting the most of his targets. So I think any three of those guys, you could argue, could end up being the number one. It's just kind of a wait and see process now. But also, do you think that Lamar's progression helps? Like, do you think that it's easier for a slot receiver to show out in Baltimore than it's going to be for one of those outside guys? I mean, that's what the Ravens were missing, was the quote unquote outside receiver. And they seem to fill that void with Tylan Wallace and Rashad Bateman and also Sammy. But do you think that an interior guy is going to have the easier route to being the number one receiver in Baltimore?
Yeah, that's a great question, Glenn, because I think that Lamar is an elite thrower in between the numbers. I think that his ability to visualize the levels of the defense and put the ball in those windows is impressive to me. And so, yeah, I think you bring up a good point, and I guess my answer to your question is yes. And look, that could benefit Hollywood. We talked about the system benefiting the Steelers. Think about, you've talked about this. We have the best. I'm getting all kinds of ammunition now, baby. So we have the best.
Fired up.
That's right. We have the best rushing attack in NFL history, right?
Yeah.
You've said this before, Glenn. What other true alpha isn't going to walk in there and be like, dude, all I got to beat is you in front of me?
Yeah.
Done. Right?
Yep.
Because there's not going to be any help. There's not going to be any shading. Because you got to occupy yourself in the box. You got to put men in the box, or else we will run it down your throat. Right? And we obviously know how to put points up on the board already without depending on the passing game heavily. Mm-hmm. So I think that, and then you talked about just the volume of guys. You got Sammy, you got Rashad, you got Wallace, you got Duvernay.
Boykin,
right? Yeah. So, and then you got Mark Andrews. We haven't talked about Mark Andrews. So how hard will it be for teams to say, we're going to take, now number 5 out of this game? Well, good luck with that.
Yeah. Because
Lamar's got 4 other guys between Sammy, Wallace, Duvernay, and Andrews that he can throw the ball through that can do damage in a myriad of ways, like way different, types of guys, way different ways they're going to get it done. But I think Hollywood is going to have one heck of a season coming up. And I think that he plays a lot on the slot. I'm nervous if I'm a corner and if I'm a nickel or whatever. And if I see old number 5 right there, I mean, we saw what he did last year to Adoree.
Oh yeah. And because look, you mentioned it. Adoree is a perfect example because he's not a real physical guy, right? He's known for his speed and his ability to mirror guys, but not known for his physicality, especially at the line of scrimmage. Well, a lot of times slot guys aren't known for that. Right. So that makes, his transition hopefully more to the inside a lot easier. I know that a lot of people in the comments are mentioning he gets beat up at the line. Well, those big physical corners are typically outside corners.
Yeah, he's going up against Tavon Young guys.
He's going to have to go up against those which plays right into his hand, because if you can't beat him up and disrupt him at the line of scrimmage, you're going to be in trouble, because you can't contact receivers more than 5 yards down the field. And really, if you can't push him around and use just because he's so small, if you can't take advantage of that size, then it's because he's not a lack of speed. It's not going to be for a lack of route running. I think that he's shown obviously the speed, but I think he's going to continue to develop as a route runner. So I think that he's the biggest candidate for me to show out this year because of the fact that he can slide inside. Now, of course, a rash of injuries could, make him forced to go back on the outside, or if Bateman doesn't live up to the first round label, or if Tylan Wallace doesn't prove that he can be an outside guy at this level and is forced to go inside. There's a bunch of things that could force Hollywood back to that outside role where he performed, but I think we all can see that he's probably built better for the inside. So it's still a wait and see process, but man, if he can stay in that role and continue to go up against slot corners, man, it could be a really successful season for Hollywood, and a season that really gains him a ton of money going into his contract year.
Yeah, I mean, you guys heard it here. Daniel Harper, of course, his personal quarterback, his personal trainer, mentioned, in the offseason, he's working and lifting with him. You'll see on his Instagram, he's at the Slaughterhouse. That's Coach Harper's gym.
No days off.
No days off. I mean, he's screaming into Twitter at 4 a.m. That's how Coach Harper is. And he said, look, if you line him and Mark and Tyreek Hill up in a 100-yard dash, and he said, as objectively as possible, my money's on Marquise Brown. Wow. I mean, that's impressive stuff. I think the kid's got it. Somebody said he could get beat up on the line by a linebacker. If I'm a linebacker, I'm also concerned because if I whiff, it's 6.
It's goodbye.
I mean, yeah. So it's definitely a calculated risk there. So it's gonna be interesting, man. I can't wait. I can't wait to the season. We got so much more to talk about. I had an absolute blast tonight. Daniel, we're excited for the evolution and the continual growth of the show and the contributions that you provide. Thanks, man. Look, DK Metcalf. Someone's calling you DK. Hey, man, shoot, you take that one and run with it, baby. Oh, I guess
I will.
Maybe he's talking about the speed. Maybe he's talking about the speed. But
yeah. There's no doubt that guy can fly.
That's right. No, absolutely.
That guy can fly. There's
we should probably get some shout outs, don't you think, Glenn?
Yeah, Don C, thanks for coming out with us. Adam James Ring, appreciate you always showing out and showing love. McDiamond has become an absolute regular here for us, so we appreciate you. Tim Ott, been there with us from the beginning. Nana Rave, always here, always hyping up the likes. I appreciate you, Nana. You're one of our favorites, no doubt about it. Terrence Hall, he's in here all the time. Appreciate you. Curtis Lowry, we appreciate you coming out and commenting and mixing it up with us. Let's see. Who else am I forgetting, Jimbo?
No, I shout out to I know Hands Picked is watching.
Is he? Now. Appreciate it.
He just texted me and called me a fatty for eating ice cream on the show.
I know. I mean, it couldn't have gone in the freezer.
The biggest bites that he's ever seen somebody take of ice cream.
Did you even enjoy it?
Oh, it was delicious.
By the way, was there milk in that ice cream?
No, it was vegan ice cream.
Okay, because I was gonna have to, I was gonna get your vegan card taken away. I know some connections.
Good. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Me and JK went together to get the ice cream. Don't worry.
I mean, you got to get up with him. You got to get up with him because, man, the no meat athlete wave is really growing. I know, you're definitely in support of Wesley Slemp. Appreciate you coming out. You're always in here with us.
Xavier Patton, I think, is a new-ish comer, right?
Okay,
so shout out for coming on.
Appreciate you coming out. But anyone who I missed, I do apologize. Thank you for coming out. Anyone who just is a silent observer, we appreciate you.
We just lost Glenn.
We lost Glenn.
We did.
What happened?
I have no idea. But last time it was me. This time it's Glenn.
This time it was him.
So we'll give him a second to hop back into. He's coming back in. Oh, geez.
Here we go.
Here I come.
Glenn, Mike, wait. There you are. My goodness. Now you're on mute.
Am I?
Now we got you. I
hit the back button and took myself right out of it.
I tell you what, StreamYard plays no games, and you're on mute again.
Am I?
No, now we got you.
King of Pugo, I forgot to shout him out. Appreciate you, King. And as well as Troy. Appreciate you, Troy. Yeah. You're always – and Billy Seals. He made it for another one, so I'm glad that – and Tanja. Got to give shout out to Tanja. Always. Appreciate you. Always in here with us. But DK, thanks for coming in with us. And hopefully we can continue this partnership here. What would you think of your first show with 410?
Hey, it's been fun. It's been great. So I'm looking forward to more and finding new ways to contribute. And hopefully I can, add to the quality of the production as well. So I'm looking forward to it, man.
Big time. Yeah, we're excited for it. Hope you guys are as well. I agree with you. I think that the production quality will continue to improve as the show grows, excuse me. And as DK continues to improve his fingerprint on that part of the show. So shout out to all you guys. Had an absolute blast. We'll talk to you guys soon.
See you.